All right, everybody. Hello, my name is Kai Price, and this is my research case study presentation. Now, today I'll be covering the cases of Sullivan versus the New York Times and Gertz versus Welch. Now, who are the parties to the case and what led to the dispute of the New York Times versus Sullivan? Now, as you can see here, I have LB Sullivan, who is one of the people in the case, as well as the New York Times. And Sullivan is suing the New York Times. Now, as you can see from the third bullet line, it says Sullivan felt that his reputation was damaged by an advertisement published in the New York Times that criticized civil rights activists in the South. Now, why did Sullivan feel his reputation was damaged by the New York Times? Now, Sullivan felt that his reputation was damaged by an advertisement published in the newspaper that criticized the treatment of civil rights activists in the South. And as you can see, that's a picture of Sullivan and a picture of the New York Times. Now, since Sullivan was a public official, what did he have to prove in this particular case? Now, in this case, as a public official, Sullivan had to prove actual malice that the New York Times had in order to win the case. Malice meaning that he had to prove that the New York Times had something on him during the case. Now, speaking of malice, that comes to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on Sullivan versus the New York Times. And ultimately, because Sullivan couldn't provide any real proof of malice for this defamation lawsuit, the Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of the New York Times. Now, moving on to the second case, we have Gertz versus Welch, which is another journalist type case. And as you can see, the parties in Gertz versus Welch, of course, are Elmer Gertz, and of course, he is suing the American Opinion magazine. Now, what were the alleged defamatory statements about Gertz in the American Opinion article? Now, in the American Opinion article, it talks about how Gertz helped to frame Nuccio. Now, Nuccio was actually a Chicago policeman at the time, and he was framed, I believe, for putting his hands on a child. Now, in the article, it says that Gertz helped to frame Nuccio, who was the Chicago policeman. And because of this, in the article, they labeled Gertz as a communist. They labeled him as a communist. Now, what was done to confirm the accuracy of the allegations against Gertz? Now, the allegations were not confirmed for accuracy before publication. And because of those allegations not being confirmed, they were false, and those false allegations led to a damaged reputation for Gertz. Now, here's a little bit about what I personally would have done if I was in Welch's shoes during the lawsuit. Now, I have a few bullet points here that I'm going to read. Of course, this says verifying the information before publishing the article would not have caused a lawsuit from Gertz. And also, understanding defamation laws is crucial for anyone working in the communication industry. And also, by being mindful of accuracy and fairness, individuals can avoid costly lawsuits and protect their reputations while still fulfilling this duty as communicators within society. And here are my references, which I got information from to make this PowerPoint possible. Of course, I have my two sources for the New York Times and Sullivan, and also my two sources for Gertz versus Welch. Now, I want to thank everybody for watching this presentation. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys later. Thank you guys so much.